Okay, so episode one, it's called Film Before a Live Studio Audience. And all these episodes so far have been directed by Matt Shackman. But this first one, I believe, was written by Jack Schaefer. And firstly, well, we start with these, like, newlywed couple. We already know Wanda Maximoff and Vision, and they're like arriving to this town. We come to learn is called Westview, and the aesthetic is very like 1950s. Basically, the whole thing is that they are trying to blend in, even though they have their own weird abilities, and the main plot of this episode, of this first episode, revolves around them seeing like a heart drawn in a calendar on the date that the episode is taking on, and they come to understand that it means different things. Wanda think it's because the heart means it's their anniversary somehow.
Anniversary of what?
Well, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah. And Vision, on the other hand, he comes to learn when he's at his work, which is very like nondescript kind of job. He comes to learn that it actually means Mr. and Mrs. Hart. Mr. Hart is his boss. They're coming to visit, or like, have dinner with them that night. So they're expecting, home cooked meal, and, basically it's a dinner to impress kind of deal. Once Vision comes home, they realize that, their mistakes from each part. Wanda's dressed, very seductively, or Sokovian in a way. And, hijinks ensue. There's a mess
God, so
everywhere.
much
She's trying to make
hijinks.
dinner. And, we see Vision start singing Yakety Yak.
Don't talk back.
Don't talk back. It ends up that Wanda makes she makes dinner for breakfast, which I am all for. There's, it's always time for breakfast in my book. As they end up being impressed, and then something happens that Mr. Hart starts asking a little too many questions that Wanda and Vision can't answer. Like, where you guys come from? How long have you been married? Where are you having kids? All those kinds of questions that Mr. and Mrs. Hart are asking. They don't have answers until Mr. Hart kind of gets too enthusiastic asking the questions, chokes on his food, and
Yeah,
then
his fault.
Vision basically has to like go in and save him. And yeah, and all of a sudden everything goes back to normal. He is hinted that Vision is going to be promoted. Mrs. Hart is very impressed with Wanda's apparent cooking, and it's over. And then it's done. That's the end of the episode.
Cool, episode 1.
So yeah. Yeah, episode 1. I like the episode title, Film Before a Live Studio
I
Audience.
didn't even notice.
Because that's what they used to say. Yeah, it's a film before a live studio audience. Before many of these sitcoms from the 50s and 60s.
And the opening is very
And-
old school in
yeah.
the way that it catches you up on the story so far with the lyrics.
Well, yeah, it's like many intros to shows. The point is that so you know what the show is about, even if you haven't catched up or if you haven't seen it since the beginning.
Yeah.
It's before the time where you binge watch.
It's before the time that
It's in a time where you would
continuity even
just
mattered.
Yeah. Exactly. It's really each episode. It's just the episode. You don't really need to know what came before in order to understand this episode. It's just a series of hijinks in one episode. You laugh. Everyone has a gas.
Yeah,
or
you're
it's gonna
around
be a
a
gas. I
bunch
like
of
that phrase.
friendly people who don't really...
Yeah, your friendly neighborhood characters.
Yeah, they don't bother you too much one way or the other. They're just enough to make you feel comfortable. Everybody in this world is happier than they
exactly.
have the right any right to be, really. And yeah, it starts with the Marvel logo, which, it's been a while. It's nice to see.
It's been a
And
while. Definitely.
it
It's
lets
I missed it.
it lets you know that this isn't
Gives you a
differentiated
certain
from the
comfort.
movies like Agents of Shield. What like something like Agents of Shield was at first trying way too hard to make you think that it's connected, and then later not at all.
They just gave up
They just gave up.
eventually.
But this one from the beginning,
Yeah.
it's a new thing.
Yeah, obviously the intro is trying to make like an homage to particularly the Dick Van Dyke Show, um, which I commented to you before. And it gave me a lot of serious Bewitched vibes. I mean, not as much as the second episode, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about that later. And the yeah, I believe I was going to comment that I believe that Dick Van Dyke himself consulted in the making of
I
this
can't
show.
believe he's alive. It's so
Surely,
crazy.
yeah, he's like 95. It's amazing,
Amazing.
amazing, amaze balls,
Mm.
definitely. I, the whole idea of trying to blend in, it's definitely like the overarching theme, or the overarching theme from this make believe show we're supposed to be watching, of how much she wants to
Normal.
be, Wanda wants to be normal and her family to be
Hmm.
normal.
She
And
wants a more, quote, normal nuclear family than most people ever get.
exactly, the it's not even like a regular, make believe family in your own head. It's more of a TV kind of
Yeah.
family
Yeah, yeah.
where it's even like almost unachievable.
Unachievable. And we don't even know why that is yet. Um,
Yeah, at least not in this first one but the thing is that the show, the episode is so good that it kind of drags you in into those happier times. And I think it came out in a very fitting
mm,
time that we're living in, where everything seems grim and horrible. And just watching shows and Turner Classic Movies, or, like the Dick Van Dyke Show or Bewitched, it's it's so fun. It's comforting. It's like a warm
yeah.
blanket wrapped around
Security
you
blanket.
in a cold winter. But in truth, the and what this is like, what this show's trying to convey, it's that we want to live in those shows, but we're actually living closer to the Twilight Zone, which
Yeah.
is the other underlying show that this is trying to
I mean,
emulate.
like it's the MCU, which is this universe's reality, is pretty candy colored compared to ours, but that even that world compared to this hyper happy sitcom world seems like grim and dark because everything's just too nice. It's too nice. It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's
Just
like that first version of the
just
Matrix that Agent Smith talked about. He's like, people rejected it. It was too perfect. And people will get into it later, but they do seem to be rejecting this reality.
yeah, you see it the more, the farther you get into the show, which we'll talk about more, but you see how that reality starts shattering a bit, and the question is if Wanda can keep it under control, you
And how
know?
much control does she have over it?
How much control does she have? Yeah, right.
Before Catherine Hahn comes in, like you said, they were having that conversation about the heart on the calendar. Well, I think this is the first instance that showcases two things that are great about this show. One of which is the chemistry between Wanda and Vision.
I was about to comment on that, yeah.
They're really cute. And they bounce off each other surprisingly well because they're both so serious in the movies that you never really get to see them flex any other sort of acting muscles. So there's that. But one of this show's strengths in general, like if you weren't a fan of the MCU already, I don't think that this show would hook you, but I think for anybody who's a newcomer, the strongest thing would be the performances. Like everybody's doing a really good job. I don't think there's a weak link that I've seen.
They don't even seem, obviously, they tread the line between being like cartoonish and just like emulating like how the actors in that time sounded like and looked like and the type of
Yeah.
comedy, but it doesn't go over into the cartoonish, I think, at least. It's almost like
No.
it's almost that it's funny, but not that it's like, okay, I get it. Please stop. And
Yeah, I mean,
it's funny how she really dislikes her husband Ralph.
yeah, there are theories about Ralph. Have you heard any?
I haven't heard the theories, but I'm sure there are so many theories.
Yeah,
Like, I was
we'll
counting
get to
on
them
it.
at the very end. But she brings up Ralph too much, I think, for it not to be a thing, even though, it's kind of like the Frasier thing with Niles having this scary wife that you never see, but is always described horribly.
Oh,
That's a sitcom trope, bringing up people that never actually show up.
yeah.
Um,
And also, well, we talked about how they poke fun at, the sitcom husband's nondescript job. Like, what is it we do here? I don't get it. And all the misunderstanding that always happens in these like old shows, like these episodes of like two characters don't understand each other, and that's how the hijinks
it's so classic.
ensue.
It's
Yeah,
in all
it feels
of them.
so. Yeah, it's always there. And the ad. We get ads in this show, which I
Yeah.
love. And our first ad is Toastmade 2000 by Stark Industries. Forget the past.
Yep.
This is your future. Creepy.
Man, this sure does have some shine. Yeah. I mean, I feel we're moving quickly. There's some things I wanted to touch on before the ad, but
Oh, yeah.
since we're on the ad, did you notice the or rather the repulsor ray noise that happens as they lower down the toaster? It's just like Iron Man's gauntlets. It's like,
Huh.
and then once it's beeping, as the toast is going to be ready, it's going beep, 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 and then
Yeah,
it comes out. But it's
I
for a
kept
little
thinking that
too
this.
long.
Yeah, it's like a little too long. It's true. It's
Do you
so
know why that
true.
is?
No, but if you do, tell me.
Yeah, so I think these commercials, the point of these commercials is that it relates to Wanda's trauma in some way. And this first one with the toaster is the Stark bomb that landed in her and Pietro's apartment and didn't blow up for 3 days while they watched it.
Right, and that it said Stark on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a bit chilling.
Yeah, it is. And that's part of why I like this show so much. There's like, the glamour on top of this idyllic existence, and then there's all these. If you look close enough, there's like this
Yeah,
creepiness that you can't just shake off. I keep saying creepy, but that's the only way I really know how to.
There's
It's
just
like creepy,
something
eerie, that.
from the beginning. I think the cracks start to show on Wanda's face when Agnes shows up, because Agnes is asking Wanda questions just, as a friendly neighbor or whatever. But
Yeah.
you see, as Agnes is talking, Wanda is silently making these faces that are just her breaking character. Just her going, wait, where was I? What was I doing? You know,
And you see
it's
it
just,
more in
it's
the
subtle.
Miss. Yeah, you see it more in the Mr. and Mrs. Hart dinner. But yeah,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
what
that's
I
when it
get what you
really
mean.
breaks.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I get what you mean. Do you have anything else? You had some stuff to comment before we
Uh,
kept going.
at Vision's job, I I realized that the nonsensical lyrics he was talking about was yakety yak,
Yeah.
which speaks. I didn't notice that on two watch throughs, so maybe I'm just a little dense, but I noticed overall, like, all the jokes that were made from the very beginning of the episode. Like, when she's like, oh, what do you say to hash browns, eggs, blah, 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 all this stuff. It's like, I say I don't eat food. Even that comes back when she serves breakfast. Or when she's like, do you think they'd like a strawberry split three ways? Which is the strawberry that Mr. Hart chokes on. I didn't notice that either.
Is
And
it the
she,
strawberry? I thought
yeah,
he should choke on something else.
and she didn't bring that out with breakfast, which means it appeared from the kitchen into his
No,
throat.
no, no, no. It was on the plate. I noticed on like my third watch through
It was on the
that on the plate there's like a little, like something with a strawberry on it.
even when she serves breakfast.
Yeah, there's like a little
Okay.
thing on the plate with a strawberry on it.
Okay, well, thank you for correcting me on that. I just thought, well, even then, did he eat the strawberry? Questions, because it's the difference between him organically choking and somebody making him choke, but
Oh.
somebody made him choke. Come on.
It's like stop talking.
Yeah,
Asking
and judging by
questions.
episode 3, it may very well be Wanda that was making him choke.
Creep.
Um,
See, I was gonna say creepy again.
it is, it is. Um, yeah, so what do we actually do here?
Yeah,
That
I always think to myself when I see Mr. Hart starting to choke and that whole scene, it's like I think of the presenter saying, "Welcome to the Twilight Zone."
I think
Yeah.
Wanda's saying, I find your lack of faith disturbing. So yeah, I just talked to you about this, but the guy who is not David Schwimmer is very jarring to me. From the mustache up, it's just Ross
Oh,
Geller.
yeah, he's oh, what's his name? Jones? No. Yeah, his last name is Jones and he's married to Dottie. We find out. Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So we're past the commercials
And
now.
I no it and at the end where they like she makes them rings and all that and he goes and they live
Yeah,
happily ever after.
that
And I
was
was
a
like,
sweet moment.
oh, yeah, that made me want to cry.
Oh, speaking of like things that make you want to cry, one of her first lines to Vision, I think her very first line to Vision is "My husband and his indestructible head."
Oh no, that's true.
It's so dark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
Crawling back
also,
in a cave.
a shout out to when his boss is talking to him and he's like, "Oh, you're truly a pioneer, sir. But the folders we use are for what again?" And his boss is like, "To optimize our input and output." You're awfully dense, aren't you, Vision?
Yeah.
Input and output of what? So
Yeah.
crazy.
And Well, yeah, towards the end, we realize that someone else is watching the show. Ooh.
Yes, but
And we see that's when we start seeing the sword around,
the sword logo for the first
the
time,
sword logo, yeah, for the
which
first time.
people have mentioned this, and I think now that I notice like that pale feminine hand in that scene, I think that's Darcy from the Thor movies, who we know is in this show because it was the casting was announced. Sorry, moved my mic there. So that's cool. I like connective tissue like that. I know a lot of people didn't like her character, but I like when characters that seemed not to matter that much come back because it reinforces one of the things the MCU does best, which is reward you for your investment. Like, if a character doesn't matter yet, they're going to matter later. When Mr. Hart is choking, Vision looks very concerned, as if he wants to help, but he does not help until Wanda commands him to.
Yeah, like Vision help him.
Yes. And she seems to have completely broken character in that moment because she doesn't have that 1950s affect.
No, no, definitely. Yeah, yeah, it just that's when she really breaks character in that, at least in that episode.
Yeah.
Um,
And it makes you
which
question whether or not Vision is actually real.
yeah, it does. That you kind of have an idea that maybe he might not be real. Maybe he's, you know, um,
Or he's real
another.
but under control because he seems to have some autonomy. Like he
Yeah,
thinks
we
for
see in
himself sometimes.
later episodes when he's kind of almost figures it out. But
So close.
yeah, we kind of oh, kind of lost my train of thought there.
It's okay.
Yeah, but we kind of see that he might be real, but he might not be, and
Yeah.
it keeps you on your toes. It kind of keeps you second guessing whether this show, sorry, whether this character is real or not.
Mm-hmm. And there was this meta line when they were asking Wanda all these questions where she goes, "They're setting up their story, let them tell it," you know? And they're like, Mr. Hart asks, "What exactly is your story?" And yeah, the audience is asking that too, right? Like, what's the justification for this specific story being told? And there is a mystery that's unraveling, but honestly, we don't know yet. We don't know why this is important. We just know that it's crazy.
And that even if you've seen the rest of the MCU movies, you don't even know. You don't really know.
Yeah. I mean, it helps to know that Wanda has gone through trauma, but she's like, it doesn't help you know what's going on because she's never done this. She's made people have strange visions about their life that they thought were real and moved things with her mind like telekinesis, but that's it.
Yeah, that's about it. Of at least what we've seen from her powers
Mm-hmm.
in this universe. But yeah, should we move to episode 2?
Yep.
Yeah. So episode 2 is it's called "Don't Touch That Dial."
Word to God.
It's now more reminiscent of the '60s, the style, especially because she's wearing pants in
WandaVision,
this one.
WandaVision.
This one is definitely Bewitched. The whole sequence, the
Yes.
intro sequence, which I love. I used to watch Bewitched as a kid.
Speaking of the
with
intro sequence, somebody pointed out that as Vision is phasing through the floor, the cartoon version of him, you can see like embedded in the floor is the helmet of the Marvel Comics Grim Reaper.
what?
Yeah, like if you rewatch that opening, there's a part where like he's getting dressed and all that, and he phases through the floor, and like next to some cobwebs or something, there's this big, like almost Galactus-looking helmet, but it's the Grim Reaper.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. Even the fun cartoony intro has to be a little creepy.
Yeah, right. They couldn't just let us enjoy that. This one, it's obviously like it kind of dialed up.
I'm sorry too.
Thank you. Thank you for laughing. I don't have a laugh track here, so I need
No,
someone.
so sad.
So sad. Anyway, they dial up the creep factor. But this was also, like I said, directed by Matt Shackman, and it was written by Gretchen Enders.
Mm-hmm.
And now in this one, it starts with Wanda and Vision just hearing these strange noises outside
Yeah.
their house, which in the end it ends up being caused by a tree branch. It's a kind of a funny scene of them being scared of the tree branch. But
Yeah,
I have
but
a theory about that, but we can talk about it later. And
okay.
after that, we realize that they're preparing for this magic act for the neighborhood talent show, which is to raise funds for
Mm-hmm.
the children
For
of
the children.
Westview Elementary School. Um, after that, they go their separate ways. Wanda goes with Agnes to spend a day planning for the show. The committee, it's always committees, which is led by Dottie, who's apparently very imposing. And Vision goes to attend like a neighborhood watch meeting. And during the neighborhood watch meeting, he accidentally swallows chewing gum, which ends up making him seem like he's a bit drunk.
And
It's
let's
kind of
not
funny.
forget the crux of the episode. He outs Norm as a communist.
He outs Norm as a communist, yes.
Yeah, big
And they
deal.
all laugh about it. We don't break bread with Bolsheviks, Mikey.
You could see
But I
Norm
think Paul
sweating bullets through the
Bettany-
laughter.
Yeah. I think Paul Bettany is really flexing his comedic muscle here. Like you said, we don't see them interact
Are you kidding me?
as a couple that much.
He's been pumping comedic iron, Catherine.
Okay.
He's been going to the comedic gym.
But yeah, in the movies, we don't see them interact as much as a couple. There's that scene where it's kind of awkward. Even some people have pointed out that it's very awkward how they interact in the movies. We only
I don't think so.
yeah, some people. I thought it was
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
It's but we don't. From what I remember, it's not to this extent of how much they love each other, and which was a bit odd because in the comics they seem to be like the one couple that has always, like, the great love story of the Marvel Marvel comic book universe. Going back to the summary, Wanda in this meeting, on the other hand, befriends this other neighbor called Geraldine, and which she says in that meeting something like, "I actually don't know what I'm doing here."
Mm-hmm.
And she also gets to notice a couple of strange things. She sees a yellow and red toy helicopter in her bushes. While she's with Dottie, she hears like a voice on the radio. She speaks that's speaking to her. Dottie, in shock, kind of breaks a glass and cuts herself, and we see color again for the second time.
Yeah.
since this is all in black and white until now. And then we go back to normalcy, quote unquote. Vision shows up to the talent show. He seems
Yeah.
intoxicated. He starts doing like actual quote unquote magic instead of fake magic as they were supposed to be doing. But Wanda, starts using her abilities to like make it look like it's just like magic tricks, and
Today,
it
we're
ends up
going
being
to
very
lie to
funny.
you, and you
Sorry?
will believe our little deceptions because human beings are easily fooled due to their limited understanding of the universe. Flourish.
Flourish. You don't have to say it, honey. Just do it. It ends up being very funny. Everyone's very entertained, even though they were like on the edge of being discovered.
And we're entertained by
They
their
win a
dumbstruck little
prize.
faces.
Yeah, dumbstruck little face. And they win a prize. They return home, and then all of a sudden, Wanda is magically pregnant. Not magically, just like very suddenly
Yeah.
pregnant. And they hear a sound outside. They go outside, and then all of a sudden, they see like a beekeeper coming out from a manhole on the street. With another symbol of a sword.
Yeah.
And then
So-
basically Wanda, like, in this point, Vision seems to be very visibly struck by this visual, but Wanda quickly just goes like, no, and turns back time, like literally rewinds the tape,
Yes.
and
it
they
was a
go
very
back to being
stern
like,
no.
oh, yeah,
Like, how
and
dare
they-
you impose on... Yeah.
and then they go back to talking about how Wanda's pregnant, how everything is great, and then everything changes to color.
Which
And
I
it's-
have something to say about that too. So yeah, this is my favorite episode of the three, by the way. And it isn't because of the creepy mystery stuff. It's because of the talent show. From them preparing for the talent show to them executing it, it was so cute and it was so charming. And I loved their acting in this, both of them. Like when they were preparing at the beginning, I like that Elizabeth Olsen's her body acting was very animated and very on time. It was like watching a Pixar character or something. I just I think she moved really well. And yeah, so I think it can't not be foreshadowing with their stage names being Glamour and Illusion.
Yeah, no.
It's too specific and on the nose. But
Yeah.
the tree branch hitting the window, I think, is the first example we get of this reality justifying intrusions from the outside world.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I did tell you about my theory that the helicopter she finds, which we see as a toy helicopter, it's probably a helicopter that got caught or tried to get into the bubble
Yeah.
they're living in, and it's a sword
100%.
helicopter.
And it's so it is so Twilight Zone and it is so creepy. I think Geraldine was on that helicopter along with a pilot that probably died. And
Jesus Christ. Yes. It crashed. It definitely
it
crashed.
crashed because you
And
hear
it's
like
the first
a
time we
boom
also.
before she finds it. And
Yeah.
as she's looking at the helicopter and looks back at the tree branch and is putting it together, boom, Catherine Hahn shows up. And she's like, well, if it isn't the star of the show.
Yeah, Agnes.
Which makes me question her too. That is so suspicious.
Yeah, and when we talk about the third episode, I'm very on the edge with her. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if she's. I was gonna make a list of people that I think are caught in the illusion, people that are from the outside, and people that are made up. I have 3 columns, and Agnes, I'm never sure if she's like someone that was just caught in the, because we don't know what is happening. We don't know if these are people that Wanda made up or if they're people that got caught inside Wanda's illusion.
Yeah.
And I think Agnes might be caught in the illusion, and and we, as we see further in the next episode, it's, I'm still on the edge about her, but yeah, yeah. And especially that helicopter, it almost breaks Wanda out of character, but you still think that
Yeah.
Wanda might not know what's
Well,
happening.
yeah, but as she walks away with Agnes as well,
She keeps looking
she
back.
she keeps looking back, yeah, and I think it's because she knows somebody got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the look of concern on her face. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the same
It's
look
like,
she
oh
would have
crap.
given if she was leaving somebody behind, you know? Like I feel like her face looks like, I feel like something really important is going on over there, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm ignoring it. And
Mm-hmm.
Agnes is just like, "Oh, don't worry about that. We got to go see Dottie."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
And yeah,
I,
the overarching theme again. Were you gonna say something else?
just that I love Agnes and her
Oh, we are
her
Team
her
Agnes
her friendly
in this
piece of
podcast.
advice. She's like, "Can I give you a friendly piece of advice? Is it about the way I'm dressed?" Well, yes, but it's too late.
Yeah, I think Catherine Han is actually the star of the show.
She's
That's
wonderful.
just me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, there's again the overarching theme of trying to blend in, um, which I already talked about, but it's just interesting again to like reinforce it again of like we're just trying to be normal people in this
Yeah.
normal town. I was trying to emulate Wanda, how she now talks, which I've forgotten that she doesn't talk like Sokovian. She now talks very American. And
Yeah, super American. I mean, she's talked pretty American since Infinity War.
yeah, I for some reason I forgot about that. So I was like, wait, what? She's
Well,
oh,
her
okay.
performance was always so quiet and understated that I don't, a lot of people didn't even notice a transit, or I didn't notice a transition until other
Yeah,
people
maybe I
pointed it
just
out.
didn't.
They're like,
I
"Hey, where's her accent?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it was so thick in Age of Ultron."
mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, I we talked about this before, the whole for the children, for the
for the
children.
children,
It reminds me of I
the
told you
greater
about the
good.
greater good, the greater good. Shot it.
Yeah.
It's very comical and weird and awfully, I don't know what
Oh,
it means yet, but
speaking of for the children, um, there are no kids in this neighborhood.
you know what, I was noticing that when I was rewatching that episode of The Twilight Zone that I showed you, the one that's called uh it's called the name just escaped me. The monsters are due on Maple Street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
That
watched it right before this.
I was rewatching it and I was like, wait, there are kids here.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
crap, there are no kids in WandaVision. Where
I
are the
thought the
kids? Where are
same
the
thing.
children? Wu-Tang's for the children. Where are they?
Yeah, and it's something else that makes me think that Wanda might have a bigger hand in this than we're led to believe because
Mm-hmm.
I as far gone as she would have to be to put everybody under this spell to make a convincing Westview,
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe that she would do that to children.
No.
So I don't know. But yeah, the For the Children thing seems pretty satanic, especially the way she gets pregnant. And
Yeah.
that's fitting potentially because there are rumors that Mephisto is in this series and Evan Peters has been cast, but nobody knows what the role is. And Agnes
Okay.
has a line after Dottie says, the devil's in the details, and she goes, that's not the only place he is.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah. And I think her husband, Ralph, that keeps getting mentioned,
And that we don't see
I think it might be him,
by B.
but that remains to be seen because it's just a rumor.
Oh boy. I can't
Yeah.
wait.
I can't wait. Yeah, it's exciting. But I like that when Wanda claps at the wrong moment for Dottie, Bev looks at her like, "Oh, God help you."
Yeah. Like, yo, you're screwed.
Paul Bettany is
Um,
really good at acting like a dork.
yeah.
It's a
I
very
just
convincing dork.
like him
Yeah, he's
in
very
general.
likable. They managed
Yeah,
to give him like the Marvel main character charm without making him the same quippy character as every other
yeah.
Marvel character, except for
That
Captain America. Yeah.
Yeah, I read that he based his performance on, well, on Dick Van Dyke
Mm-hmm.
himself, but also on Hugh Laurie, which is kind of cool.
Hugh Laurie, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Was
Well,
Hugh
I have
Laurie
you.
on Monty Python?
No, but he has made classic,
Comedy?
British comedy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have you. He did a lot of sketch comedy back in the 80s and 90s. I don't know if you've seen a bit of Fry and Laurie.
Mm-mm.
It's on YouTube. I find it very funny. It's like I think you'll like it. It's a bit of like
Yeah.
it's kind of like Monty Python when it's very like very like non sequitur.
Mm-hmm.
No, they kind of break the fourth wall. It's like this kind of very odd British comedy that I'm
Yeah.
very into. And so I can see why you know why he would base it on that. Also, well,
Yeah,
Paul
I've always
Bettany.
liked Hugh Laurie. So as far as, things to emulate, good job, Paul Bettany.
Yeah, well, and Paul Bettany himself is he like half British, or he was definitely born in the UK.
Oh, there's a second commercial,
Yes,
the
another
Strucker
ad.
watch.
It's how's the line go? I started laughing when I
It's
heard
like
it.
a
It's like
man
a
needs
man
his
needs
two most important accessories.
his his woman
His woman.
and his strucker. And I was like, what? Did they really go
Ah,
there?
it's so blatant.
Yeah.
There's another joke like that in the third one with the nurse thing to Geraldine. Like, I
Oh,
think you
you
have what
made a
it
good
takes to,
nurse.
yeah, like you would make a good nurse. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and
Strucker,
it's made by Hydra. Hail Hydra.
yeah, it's Hell Hydra, obviously, but Strucker obviously experimented on her and Pietro, which gave them their powers, which, again, another trauma of Wanda's.
Yeah, I can see how your theory is holding up.
And, yeah, so Drunk Vision is a treat. By the way, for the children,
Oh, and the Mephisto thing is the fact that they keep trying to reach her and ask her like, Wanda, who's doing this to you, Wanda? Over,
right.
Wanda, can you hear me, Wanda?
Yeah,
It's yeah, that theory might pan out to something.
every time somebody like Dottie in this episode tries to go outside the bounds of what is deemed appropriate for this reality, it
Getting off
leaves a
script.
little, yeah, going off script leaves a little space open for things from the outside to get through. Just like that radio transmission.
Yeah.
Um,
Or the beekeeper through the pothole.
or the
Oh,
beekeeper, which I'm gonna get to.
yeah, but before that, I just
Yeah, yeah.
wanted. I thought that was very funny. In the not comedy, the magic show, where they show up. Like one of the tricks is actually like a mirror illusion, where he like
Mm-hmm.
tries to pull out the hat out of himself. Uh, and Bev goes, "Is that how mirrors work?" And then Dottie goes, "Shut up, Bev." That
Yeah,
part was just funny. But
it's
let's
funny.
talk about the beekeeper.
What? Just one more
Oh wait, you have
thing.
something else to say?
It's stupid, but the rabbit being named Senor Scratchy,
Mr. Scratchy.
Senor Scratch, that just makes me happy. That's all.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
okay. So yeah, let's talk about the beekeeper. What do you think?
Well, it's definitely. I don't know what the bees mean, but it's definitely from Sword. They obviously they have. You know, it has the symbol again, but I just can't. I don't. I'm not sure. It gave me kind of like X-Files vibes. I don't know if you remember the movie. There was something about bees. Do you remember that movie?
No,
Well,
not
one
at
of the
all.
movies about bees and aliens. Uh, but besides that, I was just puzzled and creeped out. You know
Creeped
how I
out
feel
for
about
sure.
bees.
Uh, I have a theory on the bees, and it's that they are not literal at all.
Okay.
I think this is just another way that this reality is trying to justify the intrusion of an outside force. I think
Okay.
this is a sword agent in a hazmat suit because whatever Wanda or whoever is doing is radiating some sort of energy. And a hazmat suit does not belong in this world because
So
neither
she
does
sees a
sickness or
beekeeper's
death.
hat?
Exactly. A beekeeper belongs in this happy go lucky reality, but a hazmat suit doesn't.
I see. That's actually wow. I hadn't thought about it like that.
It's all about the little things so
It
far,
is
which I
definitely.
enjoy. The movies do not get a chance to do this. And
No,
so
because they're movies.
really
They
it's
have
really
like
fresh for the MCU.
tops, yeah, tops 3 hours, and even then, people are like, "Oh, it's such a long
It's so
movie."
long. Which it is fair,
Yes, but
but yeah,
you
we
need
want our character work.
exactly.
I think
Uh,
while episode 2 is my favorite of the three, I think Wanda gets her best character moment in episode 3, which unless you have anything more to say, I think we can move on to.
yeah. We can move on to that.
But sorry, just one more thing I forgot to mention before we go to episode 3, and it's about episode 1 and the visual language they were using, which for the most part was a multicam structure, like most sitcoms, where you've got camera 1, camera 2, and camera 3, and you just keep cutting between these stationary cameras. The first moment that they deviate from that structure is when Mr. Hart starts choking
You're
and it starts
right.
zooming in on Wanda.
Yeah, it's on those. Yeah, you're right. I noticed that, but I forgot to mention it.
Which is
It's where even the camera breaks character. Like the show itself is breaking character.
exactly.
Oh,
And it's a really
amazing.
subtle and good way to tell you as a viewer that something is wrong. I just thought that was really smart and worth pointing out. And yeah, the next episode doesn't use the multicam structure at all.
No.
And I think, it goes to color at the end. Also, like Bewitched, which started in black and white and eventually changed to color.
Yeah, they changed the Technicolor.
But I think it's so smart the way they're doing it, because it seems that the more Wanda comes to grips with actual reality, the closer Westview comes to a modern era of television, which is what this is, So by the end of it,
Yeah.
it's going to be the real WandaVision of today.
Yeah. And I like how it progresses so quickly. Each episode is a different era of television. And I just love this show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really fun.
It's in the devil is in the details,
Ah,
and they really nail it. They've been nailing it so far.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. So yeah, you can move to 3 now.
oh, in episode 3, it's called Now in Color. Um, it's this one was written by Megan McDonnell. It's emulating, like, now it's like a 1970s style sitcom. And they're now trying to like read on the pregnancy. Like, Wanda is clearly showing, I was gonna say symptoms, but showing signs. I think it's signs of pregnancy. They like have a doctor check on her, and obviously they don't tell him that she was pregnant just 12 hours ago, not 4 months as the doctor thinks. The doctor's name is Dr. Nielsen. He leaves because he's like, oh, everything's fine, and actually I have to go now. I'll go to Bermuda because I have a vacation with my wife. He said Bermuda, and I thought, the Bermuda Triangle?
I was thinking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where Coulson is
Ta-
like, Tahiti is a magical place.
It's a magical place. Is it
Yeah.
a magical? Yeah,
Yeah, it's a magical place.
Tahiti. Yeah. And while Vision is like seeing Dr. Nielsen out, we find out that Herb
Herb?
is their
Yeah,
next door
Herb.
neighbor, and he's like cutting down trimming the hedges until he starts cutting through the wall, which is meant to,
What
like,
is
obviously
happening?
the laugh track is trying to say, haha, this is funny, but you're like, what the fuck is just, what is happening?
And he's pretending like nothing's wrong. It's like an
Yeah,
NPC malfunctioning. It's like we're watching a Bethesda game.
oh my god, you're so right. It's like, oh, so I guess I don't have to play Cyberpunk 2077 anymore. I can just
Yeah,
watch the scene
live
over
action.
and over again.
Although this show isn't as funny as Cyberpunk.
Yeah, but for all the wrong reasons, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. Um. So yeah, and you see Vision kind of like looks at him like, like what's happening? So we kind of see, this is when we see that Vision might have a mind of his own in this
He
reality.
definitely seems to.
Yeah. And so it goes back, they're like building a new room, a new baby room. They debate baby names. Wanda wants Tommy and Vision wants to call him Billy after
Both
William
terrible.
Shakespeare. Yeah, both. But they want, classic American names, so we
Yeah.
can't blame them for that. And all of a sudden, I mean, Wanda keeps jumping in pregnancy months.
Which I'm sure feels really good.
Oh, lovely. And as she gets more and more pregnant, like her telekinetic powers, like keep like going out of control, doing wacky things and moving
Yeah.
things around, making things appear,
Bringing
not
storks
appear,
into reality.
disappear. No. And then in the end, Geraldine comes in, tell her some story, and it's funny when she's like trying to make the stork disappear. She made a stork appear at some one of her contractions, and she couldn't. It wouldn't disappear. And then she starts giving birth. Vision runs out to get
The most
the
TV birth
doctor.
ever.
What?
The most
The most
TV,
TV
appropriately
labor.
so. Yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't mad about it because that's the point.
exactly.
And yeah, they get Dr. Nielsen to the house. Like they she gives birth to actually twins, which they end up calling Tommy and Billy.
Hmm.
Um, and that's when everything just falls apart a bit, or
Yeah.
almost falls apart, because well, a couple of things. First, we Vision like sees Dr. Nielsen off, who he says like, "Oh, I don't think I'm gonna go out anyway. Small towns, they're so hard to escape." And then we see that Agnes and Herb are like talking to one another, like kind of like gossiping,
Yeah.
and Vision interrupts them, and they're like, "Oh, well, nothing's happening." But Geraldine, she's like kind of out of town. She doesn't have a home. She just came here. And he's like, "What?" Obviously, they're like, "Oh, never mind. Bye. Gotta
Hmm.
go." And then inside the house, Wanda is like, she's looking at the twins, and she's like, "Oh, I was a twin. I had a brother." And all of a sudden, Geraldine goes like, "Oh, he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he?
Hmm.
Like Piotr." And that's when Wanda really breaks character. She
Wanda did
goes,
not like that.
and so I guess that's when Wanda then notices like she has the sword emblem on her pendant,
Hmm.
and obviously something happens to Geraldine. That when Vision
She gets
returns,
booted from the
yeah,
server.
basically, yeah. Vision returns to find that Geraldine has disappeared, and oh, she had a run, and
She
well,
had to go home, and
she
Vision
had to
was
go home.
literally just told that she has no home.
And we see that's another part where we see that Vision is like it's you know kind of realizing that something's awfully wrong.
Something's up with
Like,
Wanda, and this is the first episode that doesn't end with happy, normal sitcom credits.
no, that's true.
Yeah. I
It,
mean,
it kind of does, but then we cut to the real world where Geraldine is being booted. She gets picked up by shield agents,
yeah.
and yeah.
So we're fresh off this episode. There are no notes, so let's try to
I have a couple of
mention
notes I
stuff
made.
as we can remember them. Okay, I don't.
I did make notes. I didn't make as many notes because I was very into the episode.
Yeah,
I have to say that so far this was my favorite episode.
I
It's
can see
between
that. Yeah.
episode 2 and episode 3.
Hmm.
But,
This episode's very
it's
good.
it's very good. I enjoyed it. Or maybe it's because I like the aesthetic a bit more.
I think yeah,
But
definitely, and it has more meat in terms of the mystery than I expected it to. Especially when the stork showed up, I was like, I guess we're doing this for the rest of the episode.
yeah.
But then
Yeah.
towards the end, I think Wanda has her best character moment so far.
I think doesn't she twice rewind the episode?
Um,
She
no.
rewinds the episode. Yes.
Well, in episode 2, she does. And then in episode 3, she does it again.
Yeah, she rewinds it at one part.
Yeah, that
in
was
the beginning. Oh yeah, it's in the beginning. I
chilling.
don't. It's
That
not
was
towards the end. Yeah,
probably the
that's true.
most creepy one so far because of how immediate it was. Like, there was no tell that, like, in episode 2, there's an obvious rewind and there's an obvious source of it. But in this one, as Vision's figuring things out, he's like, but don't you notice these weird things going on? Like dinner with Mr. Hart or whatever else he
Herb.
mentioned.
He mentioned Herb
Oh,
outside when he was
Herb
cutting
out,
through the
yeah.
wall,
And
which was more
Wanda's looking
immediate.
at him, and then it just cuts. It
Yeah.
just cuts back to Vision standing up.
And then just talking about the pregnancy again and like, moving on,
That is
evading
so
the
creepy to
conversation
me.
altogether. Yeah, it was more eerie than the other ones because you don't get the whole comical like
Yeah,
going out back of the tape.
it's because of how quiet it was.
Yeah, if you weren't looking, you were like, "Wait, did I just miss something?"
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also, well, I don't want to, go into these crazy, well, it's not a crazy theory, but it's kind of like editing techniques, how they're getting better
Hmm.
throughout the time periods,
Right.
throughout TV editing.
The visual effects are updating with the times.
Exactly, the visual effects,
Hmm.
but also how you would edit some of these cuts.
Hmm.
And still,
It did, like, the cut wasn't smooth, but it was very quiet. It was not, it was purposefully not smooth in the way that a 1970s show would have not been smooth.
I I also, oh, in this episode we have another ad, which is Hydra Soak.
Yeah, and this is also probably worth mentioning that it's always the same two people in the ads. You only see the woman in this one, but you can hear the man's voice as well. And I did
Yeah, he's
see
the
a
announcer.
theory that what if these were Wanda's parents? You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Oh my God.
Remains to be seen.
Remains to be seen. We don't know. We don't know yet. We already mentioned the TV clean baby in this episode, which I thought was
Yeah.
funny.
I
And
enjoyed the whole stork sequence.
yeah,
It was so silly.
yeah, it was silly, but at the same time entertaining.
Yeah.
And I I guess I took more notes about the scene between Geraldine and Wanda
Yeah, I
and
I rewatched it.
how Geraldine kind of breaks Wanda's illusion in a way.
And the illusion
But
is broken for her, too, when she mentions Pietro.
yeah, yeah, she breaks her own illusion. Like, oh, I had a brother.
No, no, I mean,
Oh, you Geraldine.
Geraldine's. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't think she ever was really in the illusion. I think or she might have been in the beginning, and then like this is my theory that in the beginning when she went in, she was
Hmm.
caught in the illusion, but then as time went on, she like remembered what her mission was.
Uh, I can see why you would think that, but the reason I don't believe that that's the case is because up until that moment that she mentions Pietro, she was really good at acting. But after she brings up that he was killed by Ultron, she's suddenly very bad at acting.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
I
Like
guess I
she's
just thought
she's
she was
trying.
good at acting until she's like, fuck,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fucked up.
Until she gets
But
scared because Wanda is imposing in that scene.
yeah,
She's
she's
kind of
very imposing, and
thuggish.
she might have remembered who Wanda is, really.
Yeah, she realizes like she's hanging out with the nuclear bomb, basically.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But this scene primarily kind of, I don't want to say it confirms, like, say it in those terms, but it definitely, wavers towards the theory that Wanda is actually conscious throughout all this, or
Yeah,
semi-conscious, like, or she at least is getting a hold of the situation
right.
and is actively participating in it.
Yeah, she's like actively not fighting it, it
Yeah,
seems.
like there's a deliberate attempt of denial of reality.
Yes.
It's not just
It's
the person in the psych ward that doesn't know what's happening and it's living in this la la land. It's the person that is kind of like a functional, you know, someone that's actually functioning in society, but
yeah,
still is denying certain things happening, which
y-
is
totally.
kind of worse.
And
It makes the situation a bit worse.
it's the most sinister light that we've ever seen her in so far. And I'm just hoping that this is not all her because this is really bad.
This is bad, and
It's really bad.
yeah, and I just, I guess my question is how could she, if Vision has like some kind of consciousness in this and some kind of self, um yes, like there's an essence of him there, how does she keep him alive?
I
I
don't
don't.
know. And since we started talking about this episode, I'm wondering whether he's actually he actually has his own mind, or that is just Wanda's image of him that he thinks for himself, and like her realistic image that she's painted of him in her reality is just she knows he wouldn't fall for this.
Mm,
You know what
I
I mean?
see. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it still might be up in the air whether or not it's actually Vision. But it feels like Vision,
Yeah.
and I'm leaning towards more towards it being him.
Wishful thinking, Mikey.
Yeah.
We want Paul Bettany.
But her best character moment that I was talking about was when she brings up her brother, like, because it's the only moment so far that she lets somebody into her sadness, and the laugh track is completely gone, and she starts singing what I assume is a Sokovian
Like a lullaby,
nursery.
Sokovia.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it's a Sokovian lullaby.
a lullaby, and it was just a really sweet moment before Geraldine shits the bed.
And then has to sleep in it.
Yeah,
Well, by getting kicked
and
out.
you notice Agnes and Herb, they only are trying to convince Vision that she is bad news until she gets kicked out of the reality. Like the moment that she would have been kicked out of the reality, they're both like, "Oh well, gotta go."
Oh. Catch you in the flip side. Bye.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
they
I
knew
see.
that the threat was gone. Like they were white blood cells converging on a virus.
Oh, you just read my mind because I was gonna say maybe they are like the lymphocytes of like if it's like a body like a virus and they're like lymphocytes
Totally
trying to like protect Wanda. Damn, we are right here
in sync.
in sync. We're also in sync.
The band,
I can do the curly. No,
sick.
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't want
get a
to.
perm.
You get. I don't need the perm. I just need to cut it really close.
I always get them and
But
the Backstreet Boys confused. But yes, continue.
how dare you? We'll talk about this later, mister. But all in all, I think so far this is a great show.
Yeah,
I
it's so
I
fun.
was already I was this was the show that I was most excited for
Same.
because besides the fact that it was gonna premiere like now, but I don't want to say, I don't want to be mean and say like I don't really care about Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it's fine. I'll watch it definitely.
I feel like
But
that show has more to prove to me than this did, because this is the interesting choice. I feel like
yeah,
Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to be Captain America light, and I hope I'm wrong.
yeah, yeah. And the other one is Loki, the other one
Yep,
that actually looks interesting. I
definitely.
know they recently announced She-Hulk with Tatiana Maslany, which
And
I'm excited
possibly
for.
Charlie
But
Cox.
oh my god, yeah, that's the other one that I'm like, ah,
Amazing.
amazing.
He's
Crying a bit.
actually he's going to be in the same movie as Wanda because you have you heard that they're doing a multiverse trilogy?
What?
Yeah, and this is the first part of it. WandaVision is part 1. Part 2 is Spider-Man 3, and part
Okay.
3 is Doctor Strange.
So these movies are kind of connected one to okay.
Yeah, and
Okay, so the show, the movie, and the other movie.
Wanda, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, Doctor Strange was already confirmed for Spider-Man 3. So there's and she's obviously going to be in Doctor Strange. So
Yeah.
the theory is that by the end of this, she is going to split apart the multiverse. And so Spider-Man 3, there's going to be some Spider-Verse stuff, some Doctor Strange stuff. And then in Doctor Strange, it's going to be them putting it back together.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm all in for it.
Yeah. Me
I'll
too.
watch all of it. Even the parts that are like, I'm not that convinced, I'll watch it. I don't care.
Gotta
They know
don't gotta
this.
tell me
They
twice.
know
They
we'll watch
know.
it. They just know.
That's I mean, this show, that's part of what's so fun about it is getting to speculate about the MCU and but in like 20-minute snippets and it's like catnip.
Just wanna roll into it and just like and
Got
trip
any more of that
balls.
WandaVision?
Yeah, it's like that David Chappelle character. Just like
Yeah.
okay, any more of that. Yeah, man, it's
Some of
this is
the
awesome.
theories I looked at on Reddit, do you want me to read some of those? I have them here. Just
Yeah,
like little
just
short bits.
yeah, just I'm all about theories.
Actually, I already pretty much mentioned the theories so
Oh.
far. So really, this is like interesting little tidbits. One of which is when they're shooting in this old school style. They're using mono audio, where which is how it used to be, where the same exact same audio plays through both speakers instead of the modern stereo audio,
Oh, okay.
which plays in the sword scenes and everything that's modern era. It's just like that's a cool little detail that most people wouldn't pick up on, and somebody did. So it's just
Yeah.
cool that they're taking it that far. And somebody said, like, I'm fully expecting the 1980s commercials for action figures of all your favorite characters. And someone responded, and it's just the male heroes with half a dozen versions each and absurd accessories. Like the spider copter, because
Oh
Spider-Man needs a
gosh.
helicopter.
Of course he does. Why wouldn't
Yeah.
he?
Also, I'm wondering, some people mentioned if these commercials are going through her trauma, because a lot of people have picked up on that, that they wonder if the Thanos snap will be incorporated into one of the commercials, like a bunch of people snapping their fingers to a catchy jingle,
That would
or
be
something implying that like half the population moves out of Westview.
uh-huh.
Yep, that's about it. That's all I have for that. Just little tidbits.
Yeah, I'm into it. I I don't know. I just really, I don't know if you have any final comments, but mine really is that I really enjoy watching it because it like really takes the, the right, you know, tickles my jingle really, checks the
It
right
jingles my
boxes,
bells.
jingles my bell. It, and it gives me, it makes me want to like right after the episode's done, just want to go and watch some like Twilight Zone episodes.
Mm.
So there's some comfort in watching Twilight Zone. For me, at least, I don't think for many people it is. But
Yeah,
at the same time,
can't say
there's
I
the
agree with
other
that.
comfort of like watching Bewitched when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
the episodical hijinks that you get from these old shows that you really don't usually get from newer shows. Even like sitcoms from the 2000s, they're it's not the same. Not that I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, just TV's not the same anymore, man.
I think
But
this is
there's
the best time for TV ever.
yeah, no, definitely. But there's it makes you feel like probably like Wanda feels that she's taking comfort
Hmm.
in this before time, these
Yeah.
older times
And I brought
where
up to
things were
you,
like quote unquote simpler.
I brought up to
But
you off mic that maybe these were like reruns in Sokovia, these types of shows that she would watch with her brother, and that's why she's building this reality, because she's regressing
yeah,
into something familiar and comforting, because she's all her life that we've seen so far has been tragedy. Her brother, her parents die, she gets experimented on, she loses her twin brother. She then kills a bunch of people on accident because she can't control her powers. And then she loses the one person she's probably ever loved.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's sad, and I only want her to be better.
Yeah, me
But
too.
for now, we'll have to wait for episode 4, which we'll hopefully review next time. And since it's like just one episode, we'll probably just be reviewing also another movie. We were thinking Soul by
Soul,
Pixar.
yeah.
It's a excellent movie,
We've
but we'll
yeah, we've
see.
both seen it once already and
Yeah, but we're
cried.
excited for that too. Well, that's it for now. I think.
Hmm.
What's our score? I think 9 out of 10 for me. There, boom.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm gonna save my number score for when all the season is out, but yes, I'm feeling it's gonna be high, and I hope they stick the landing because I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see what happens next, really. So, yeah, that's it for now, guys. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. That was Kath and Mikey Make a Podcast, Episode 6, WandaVision Episodes 1 through 3. Please join us next time where we talk about WandaVision Episode 4 and the Pixar movie Soul. Feel free to like and subscribe, or dislike and overscribe. I'm very clever.